All right, hey everybody, Teching 101 here, and welcome to the season finale, episode 40 of Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. This is the last episode of Core 3, moving into Core 4 after this, and let me tell you, just if there's going to be the equal number of episodes in Core 4, which I can't imagine there wouldn't be, there might be a little less, I don't know, but around 13 to 14 episodes per core is how this is going. This episode right here covers up to about the first half of Chapter 661. Chapter 661 is called My Last Words. It's the title of this episode. Now, there's some other stuff that's included here, not in the manga, that sets up like a much longer fight with Gerard Valkyrie, for instance. But I'm going to say, like, there's only, like, at this point in the story, like, 25 more chapters of the manga. And a lot of that are fights, and, you know, like fight chapters might be pretty quick in terms of, like, adapting it to the anime. So I'm thinking, like, if they just adapted the manga and they didn't change anything, you probably got maybe 5 episodes or 6 episodes in Core 4 if you just adapted it direct, which means there's going to have to be a lot more stuff added to it. So I'm really excited for what they're going to do with Core 4. But for right now, we got Ichigo staring down Uryu again, and it's a little awkward. It's a little awkward right here, you know. It's like, hey, what do you say to your best friend that just punched a hole through your chest with an arrow? Like, what do you say after that happens exactly? I think Ichigo and Uryu are best friends. I consider that mantle right there. Yeah, they're besties, sure. Okay. Oh, Chad and Orihime are also there, yeah. By the way, there's a lot about this fight. I went back and reread these chapters in the manga. There's a lot that happens in this fight that I could have sworn was anime only, but no, it did actually happen in the manga. Like, there's a moment where Uryu pulls out Seele Schneider and uses that, and I'm like, I don't remember him using it at that point in the manga, but no, he totally does. There's a scene where Ichigo gets knocked down, and then Chad grabs Zangetsu, like in the little hole that's in between the shorter end of Zangetsu. That sounded wrong, but whatever. Chad grabs that and hoists Ichigo back up. Completely forgot about those scenes in the manga, but they do happen here. Okay. So, Hashwalth is also there. Ah, you're lucky, Uryu Ichida. Even fate has come to help you prove it. Now, even though I'm like 99.9% sure you're a traitor, especially since I have the power to see the fucking future right now, now you will see 100% if you're a traitor, because you will fight against your friends, and if you kill them here, then I will see you are not a traitor. By the way, what happens if Uryu just straight up killed Ichigo, Orihime, and Chad? And he's like, yep, there it is. I killed him. Yeah, I'm not a traitor anymore. All right, right? It's like, and would Hashwalth have still believed him? Would Hashwalth have just been like, all right, okay. Now, Uryu has a plan in the manga that he explains around this time. He mentions why he is there and how he's going to bring down the Varvelt. That is not included here. So I have a feeling they might change around exactly what his plan was to begin with, or they might include that a little later, but they do not mention it here. Okay, so his plan, though, in the manga involved him scattering all those little pieces, the chips of the Sanrei Shuto, the glove that he used way back in the Soul Society that, like, repels Reishi that his grandfather Soken gave him. So the idea is he was, like, scattering those chips all over the Varvelt. They can only be activated with his Ryatsu, and then when he activates them, it's basically like a giant bomb going off, and the Varvelt would, like, crumble to pieces. Presumably killing Yuha and Hashwalth and all of the Royal Guard and Uryu in the process. Uryu is, like, fairly sure this would work. I doubt it would have, considering Yuha has, like, legitimate god power. Like, even if this plan worked and all of the Varvelt was, like, shattered apart, kind of have a feeling Yuha would survive that, snap his fingers, and just reconstitute everything. But yeah, it's not mentioned in this episode, so maybe they're going to go a different direction with it, because that plan of Uryu's just came out of fucking left field in the manga. Just, like, no setup, no elaboration on, like, oh yeah, the Sanrei Shuto, which apparently was destroyed during the Soul Society arc when he went into the Quincy Let's Still, that's apparently still relevant. I have pieces of it, and I use it for this purpose. It's a little strange. Although I think we did see a scene in the manga of him, like, planting stuff around the Varvelt. But, like, yeah, that plan just came out of left field. Anyway, So Hashwolf gives Uryu an ultimatum here. Kill your friends, and if you do, I'll consider you a true member of the Stern Ritter. I'll consider you an ally, right? However, I already know how you would answer. So Hashwolf's just kind of fucking with him, just kind of messing with him at this point. Ichigo brings up that, like, oh yeah, his eyes look weird. By the way, yeah, I guess this isn't the first time Ichigo's run into Hashwolf. Hashwolf was the one that sliced Zangetsu in half way back in the first invasion. So yeah, Ichigo hasn't had a lot of interaction with Hashwolf, though, beyond that. But he's like, oh yeah, what's with his eyes? They look just like Yuha's. Ooh. I love the close-up view of his eyes. I know in the manga, you can definitely tell he has the multiple pupils in the manga, but there's just a lot of close-ups in the episode that look really neat. All right, so Ichigo and Uryu begin their fight again. This is Uryu pulls out the Seele Schneider. We actually get a cutaway in the episode focused on the Seele Schneider, and that's awesome because this is like my favorite tool that the Quincy's use in their arsenal, even more so than BG9's Quincy minigun. I love the Seele Schneider. I just love saying Schneider. I don't know. It just sounds cool, right? I'm gonna, hire Edgar Schneider and Associates. There you go. All right. So we get the title scene here. And I'm actually looking forward to. By the way, since it's the last episode, what is your favorite opening of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc up until now? I'm going to say this one is probably my favorite. I'd probably go in reverse order, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I would go opening 3, then opening 2, then opening 1 is probably my least favorite. I just feel like opening 1 could be a little bit more powerful. I don't know. But at any rate, what's your favorite? So we are going to do a little bit of a flashback here to the Soken Ishida writing in his journal. That's cool. Already we're seeing more Soken than we saw in the manga here. He's writing in his journal. He's talking about how Emperor Yuha is not the savior of the Quincy's. And Uryu's reading all this information, at the beginning of the season as well. At the beginning of Core 1, he found the journal. He was reading all of this in the world of the living. Here's the book. You actually see Adonias. I don't know if it's in this scene right here, but if you go back and watch the episode where he's initially reading this, you do actually see the Soul King's name written in the journal. But this is a part about the Auswahlen. So this is about, like, I don't know, like 10-ish years ago, something like that. I can't remember the exact age Ichigo and Uryu were when the Auswahlen occurred, but they were little kids when this happened and when Masaki died. So this giant donut of power just appears over Karakura Town. I also love the effect that the church bells like sound like that's part of the Auswahlen when he uses the Holy Selection. Like you hear church bells like ringing in the distance. We see Masaki staring down Grand Fisher, and just when she's about to fight Grand Fisher, that's when the power goes away and the Auswahlen rips the abilities from her. She can't use Blut Vina anymore, which is like the worst possible timing for that. Then we have an extra scene where we see Uryu giving a flower to his mother, Kane Katagiri, and a maid of the Ishida household. So we don't know this maid's name. I actually was a little bit confused for a moment because Kane Katagiri was the maid, before her and Ryukin got together and everything like that. So Ryukin and her got together. They had Uryu together, so this is another maid that just happens to look a lot like Katagiri. We do not know this person's name. So, the Auswahlen occurs, and this is a little weird scene, and this was kind of like I was kind of confused by this. So the maid passes out, Uryu passes out, Katagiri seems to not pass out immediately, which is strange because the whole point of this was the Auswahlen ripped the powers away from Quincy's that were deemed impure or tainted. Katagiri is a half Quincy, and in that sense, Masaki was a pure Quincy. However, because she was attacked by a hollow, by White, we saw that, with Ichigo's backstory and everything like that. And we also see, Ryukin and Isshin in there and how, Ichigo's powers were, manifested and everything when he got his Zangetsus. That's the reason Masaki was affected by the Auswahlen. But Katagiri was mentioned to be affected and then put into a coma. She didn't die right away because Masaki was fighting Grand Fisher. So her powers went away. Grand Fisher killed her. Katagiri just lost consciousness and went into a coma for a few months, and then she died. And the implication was that, I don't even know if it was ever mentioned in the manga that Uryu was affected by the Auswahlen. The idea is that Uryu wasn't affected because he's, special. So we see here he was affected by the Auswahlen. It didn't kill him or anything like that. It didn't give him a silver blood clot or anything. We just cut immediately to the graveyard. We saw Ryukin and Isshin in the last episode. Yuha wanted to heal the wounds from the battle 1,000 years ago to rule the world. He used Auswahlen on the Quincy's. All right, and we actually see Soken with his grandson here. I mean, not next to each other, like having a moment, but we see, you know, them together in the graveyard mourning Katagiri. So that's something. We see more of Soken here. He used Auswahlen on the Quincy's and took away his companions' power and lives. And so, yes, this is where Uryu realizes, like, okay, yeah, this whole thing is really jacked up, and I know what my mission has to be now. As Quincy's who have survived in the human world, we have our own duties. So it's basically the same conclusion that Basby and Latato and everybody came to after they were not spared the holy selection and their powers were ripped away from them by Yuha. They came to the conclusion, we're going to kill the son of a bitch, all right? And that's kind of, that like, Soken was kind of a radical in that sense, too. He's just like, all right, we all know where this has to end. We Quincy's living in the world of the living that were affected by the Auswahlen. We know what our job is at this point. We have to kill them. In that moment, when that moment comes, we have to stop Yuha, right? And so Uryu crafts a plan, and that plan in the manga, as I said, involves the Sanrei Shuto. Here, it's not really mentioned, so we don't really know if his plan's going to change at all. So we cut back to the fight. This fight is completely different. Like, obviously, we see Uryu and his Volt Sterndick here fighting against Ichigo again. Some cool shots here, like he combines all of the feathers together to make this little square thing and focus fire in the center. We see him pulling out the Quincy, like, pentacle later and using that as, like, firing 5 arrows at once. And Orihime and Chad are on the sidelines. They actually do stuff in this fight. I'm not going to say they're on the sidelines the entire time. So I approached Yuha, proving my strength and having him and value me can act as a decoy. So, like, the other Sternritter were kind of, like, a little leery of Uryu, and, like, a lot of eyes and stuff were focused on him at that point. Oh, this is a really cool shot where Ichigo uses Getsuga and it just, like, completely perfectly bisects the castle, and it just, like, completely clean cut and everything just gets dropped by, like, 6 feet. That was a really cool shot there. This is a really well done fight. So this is the shot here where Ichigo throws the second part of Zangetsu, uses that as a decoy, falls down. Ichigo fires a Getsuga. Uryu fires an arrow at the same time. Uryu is a lot, I mean, Ichigo is a lot less, you know, hesitant here. He's obviously still not trying to kill Uryu, but it's more of a situation of like, okay, we already tried this before, and I know how that went. If I want to knock your ass out and drag you back to the world of the living, then I have to fight to kill you. I'm going to fight to kill you, probably won't kill you, and then knock you out and then drag you back. We're doing this now. So he just comes into this fight with a lot more drive, a lot more energy. He's not hesitating as much. He's just like, I'm just going to shoot you with Getsugas and try to stab you. And that's probably going to knock you down at some point. Even if you get, like, kind of, like, injured. Even if I, like, slice off an arm or a leg. You know, Orihime could probably fix that. You shot me through the freaking lung last time. I think we'll be all right here. So Ichigo and Uryu fall down through the hole here, and then we have the shot of Yuha's throne room. That would have been actually really interesting because Ichigo's attack dropped everything by like a few feet. So I imagine Yuha is just sitting in his throne, and then all of a sudden it's just like... it just falls out of the throne and lands perfectly back on it, still sleeping. All right, so we have the Bambies arriving. I'm glad the Bambies got more screen time in this. Giselle is holding one of the severed heads of the Soldat that were, like, possessed by Yuha. No further explanation or elaboration on that either. It's just like, yeah, the Soldat were, like, zombies, and I guess they killed them all and cut their heads off, and they don't really look all that damaged. So it's like, all right, whatever. So they're approaching Yuha here. He's taking a nap, and then they're like, oh, hey, His Majesty is sleeping. Okay, who cares? I love, hey, if nothing else, Latato is all business. She's like, oh, hey, Giselle's like, oh, yeah, hey, look, he's asleep. Yeah, who cares? Let's kill him. All right, like, fuck it, let's kill him, let's ball. All right, so they all charge into attacks. That's actually a really cool shot right there. Candace with the lightning, Bambi with her bomb. Giselle's just kind of cheering them on off in the corner. Yeah, go, guys. And then Latato has her giant, like, chain chomp mouth that she goes to try to attack Yuha. We'll see what becomes of them at the end of the episode. Moving back to Yoruichi, Yushiro, and Askin and their little fight here. As expected of the former head of the Stealth Force, you're very, very fast. I'm quite confident in my own speed as well. Yeah, no shit, like, because Askin was able to outspeed Tenjiro earlier in the last core, in the finale there, fought against, you know, Tenjiro Kurinji, and was able to just, like, dodge his attacks. It was kind of done for, like, a little bit comedic effect, but the fact he was able to do that is, like, you know, he's, like, faster than soy phones, so yeah, that's not to be underestimated, right? He also got the one-up on Grimmjow, but that was less about speed and more about Grimmjow's own brashness. I also love how Grimmjow showed up. He's like, yeah, let's kick ass. And then, like, immediately is, like, the first person to get taken out. Like, that's all it did. Hey, Askin is dangerous, all right? Look, we've seen how scary Askin can be. If you're an idiot, you're going to get dropped by his powers immediately. If you're just bold, if you're just going to dive right into battle, if you dive right into battle, he's also going to take you out immediately. If Askin went up against Kenpachi, I feel like it would have been a situation similar to Pernita, where Askin would just use his poison. Kenpachi would just kind of be like, whatever, this guy's yapping, I'm going to go cut him in half. And so Kenpachi would run up, cut Askin almost completely in half, or maybe he would cut him in half, and Askin would just be able to heal from that, you know, his abilities there. If he loses an arm or something, I feel like he could just, like, paste that thing back onto him. But yeah, and then the poison affects Kenpachi, and he just gets dropped. So yeah, I feel like even in that situation, Askin would still win the fight, just like Pernita did. So Yoruichi does some cool maneuvers. She powers up Raijin Senkei again, tries to stab her. He's already, you know, adapted to that Ryatsu, so it's not really going to work here. What a stubborn woman. This move. You're already immune to it, aren't you? Oh, but wait! Yoruichi's clever! So this is actually cool. Yoruichi realizes, okay, he said his ability is to get inoculated to, like, various reishi techniques, and she's aware of that. However, there's other ways to fight rather than just using a big, giant attack of reishi. For one thing, she's like, all right, instead of using my reishi to, like, attack you with lightning, what if I blind you with light? Because I'm not really attacking you. I mean, I am, but I'm not pumping my Ryatsu into you. I'm just using it to blind you. Is that going to still affect you? And it does. She uses, like, a flashbang and then wraps Askin's head around her epic Yoruichi thighs and then pile drives him into the ground. So that's pretty neat. I like that idea. I like that little addition there, because it's not just like, you know, Yushiro made sense, because he's just going to dive right into the battle and just be like, I'm just going to attack you. And then Askin's like, it's not going to work. It's like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And then Askin's like, okay, well, you're a dumbass, all right? So it's interesting that Yoruichi's not going to do the same thing. She's like, all right, I'm going to fight you a different way. And instead of using my Ryatsu, what if I just use Hakuda? I just use hand-to-hand combat to just knock you around, toss you about, and give you the death that, like, every Bleach fan would love. You know, crushed between Yoruichi's thighs. There are worse ways to go out, but not very many better ways. All right, so now we're cutting back to Gerard's kaiju attack, you know, stomping around the Varveld here. It's like, fee, fi, fo, fum, I'm just gonna pick up shit and throw it at you. He actually mentions here in the manga that, like, he's so big, it's actually kind of hard to see anybody on the ground. So Momo is cowering in fear, which, you know, is something we usually see Momo doing. Is this all you amount to in the face of my miracle power? You know, and then we have a moment where he's right about to kill Momo, and then Kinshara, Rose's Zanpakuto, shows up out of nowhere and blows up in his face. And Rose is there. Couldn't even crush a dying girl. Wow, yeah, it really is a miracle. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to assume this actually makes sense. If you're questioning how the fuck Rose is there right now, this does make sense for him to be there. Also, Kensei's there. There were 2 extra pods that we saw. Mayuri and Kenpachi, you know, were stored in 2 of them. Rangiku and Toshiro got out of 2 of them. So there were still 2 pods that were, you know, unknown who was in there. I assumed it was Kensei and Rose. So I'm just going to go ahead with that. We don't get any clarification on that either, like whether it was them, like, getting out of the pods or anything, if they were the ones in there. But it does make sense for them to be there, okay? So that actually works. That adds up. So Rose is back, and we're going to see Kensei here. So Momo is saved. We see Shinji with Sakanade. We see Hiyori. We see Hachigen Ushodo showing up. And he say, oh, this is hardly a miracle. But if you think the 13 core guard squads aren't enough, then let the Visards show you the real miracle. The massed army. Oh, my God. This was the highlight of the episode. I don't care. This is it right here. We get some other cool stuff for sure, but this is what I am talking about. I am so glad that, like, yeah, bringing Mashiro along where she wasn't in the manga, that actually was going to lead to something. They did that on purpose. Oh, thank you. All right. We're seeing another full-fledged fight with the Visards. They're using their masks. So in the manga, this was just a scene with Hiyori, Hachi, Love, and Lisa. Hiyori kind of charges in and does this really cool tri-Sero thing where there's like 2 Seros on her hands and 1 in her mouth, and it kind of connect together like a tri-attack from Pokemon. She uses that. Hachi uses chocolate bar slider, which is like a bunch of keto blocks that he throws at the enemy. Lisa and Love use their Zanpakutos, their Shikais. And so that was kind of it. Gerard then smacks them all into buildings, and that's all. That's all. We don't see him again after that. Like, that's it. Gerard knocks him into some buildings, and then Toshiro shows up, and then that's where the fight kind of goes with Toshiro and Byakuya and Kenpachi. So, yeah. Now, we're probably still going to get those techniques from Hiyori and Hachi and everybody here. But we're going to see all of the Visards, the masked army, fighting together here. Now, they are using their masks. And very notably, you see Rose, Kensei, and Shinji all take off their Captain Hioris before they mask up. All right? And this is something that has kind of been a theory for a while now. Why the hell did Kensei and Rose and Shinji not use their masks while they were down in the Soul Society, while they were in the Seirete fighting against the Stern Ritters in the initial invasions? And the general idea is, well, Yamamoto forbid them from using their visored masks while they were in the Seirete. Okay, now, that does make sense for something that Yamamoto would say. Sure, I'm with you there. But how the fuck does that make sense when Kensei is, like, about to be killed by Maste Masculine, or Rose as well? Like, where using their masks could literally save their lives. Even then, they still will not use them. Is it possible that not only was it forbidden by Yamamoto for them to not use their masks in the Seirete, or forbidden to use their masks, but is it possible that maybe Hachi, or, maybe the Keto Corps or something like that, placed some kind of sealing technique on their masks? Like, it's not just their word for it. It's like Yamamoto said, okay, listen, if you want to come back in and join the court guard squads, I'll let you do that. But if you're going to do this, you're going to have a seal placed on you, like a keto seal. And while you have that seal, you will be unable to use your mask within the confines of the Seirete. The only time we see a member of the Visor use their mask in the manga is Mashiro uses it when Kensei is training Shuhei. However, that was outside the Seirete. That was in the Rukongai. So maybe it's a sealing technique that only works within the confines of the Seirete. That does make sense. And they're no longer in the Seirete now. They're now in the Varveld. So it's fair game. And they make a show just to take off their captain's cloak as just kind of like just like a symbolic gesture of like, okay, we're no longer fighting as Shinigami or Court Guard squad members now. We are now fighting as the Visored, as our little group. Also, maybe Hiyori and Hachi and Lisa and Love, who all stayed in the world of the living, maybe they didn't want to have this seal placed on them. Maybe Hiyori was like, screw that, I like to use my hollow mask. I'm not going back to the Soul Society. I'm staying in the world of the living. Maybe Shinji and Kensei and Rose and Mashiro were like, I could see Shinji, Kensei, and Rose being like, they were captains before, so I could see them, I guess Love was as well, but maybe Love was just like, there's no opening in Squad 7, I'll just stay in the world of the living. But the three there were like, okay, we'll go back and we'll accept this rule. And Mashiro would go with, Kensei anywhere, because Mashiro really likes Kensei, right? So maybe it has to deal with that. Maybe it has to deal with that. I'll go with that as the explanation, but damn, this scene is cool. The only thing I really hope is I hope that in Core 4, we don't do the same thing we did here, where, we got an extra fight from the Zero Squad, but then everything has to reset to where it is. So I don't want to see all the Visored immediately getting the shit beat out of them by Gerard. Like, they'll have a moment where they're doing good. We see all their techniques. Kensei will go Bankai. Rose will go Bankai again, maybe. Hey, Love definitely knows Bankai. Out of all of the Visoreds, Love definitely knows a Bankai because he used to be a captain of Squad 7. So maybe we'll see Love's Bankai. But then Gerard just smacks them all down, and they all get defeated. And then Toshiro shows up, and then Byakuya shows up, and then Kenpachi shows up. And like, we'll finish him off. And that's kind of how the battle goes. No, I want to see, here's how you could do this well. Have Toshiro, Kenpachi, and Byakuya join the fight with the Visards. Don't have the Visards get curb stomped and then go back to the manga. Just have it be completely fused together, as it were. Just have them all fight together. Maybe you can have like some of the Visards, get beaten down. Maybe Rangiku joins. Maybe she gets beaten down at some point. But at some point, they all just like work together to bring down Gerard. That would be really neat. Maybe Nanao could get involved with the Shinken Hyakyoken. I can see that happening. Absolutely. Let's go with that. Awesome scene, though. And this is the last scene we see of Gerard in the episode. We also cut to Yukio and Riruka real quick. They're in the box. She's complaining a little bit about, like, I want to go help Ichigo. And Riruka's kind of just pacing around. And she's, like, not saying anything. But she definitely is, like, pouting like she wants to go help him. And Yukio's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not leaving the box. I told you, I'm not leaving my box. And it's like, I haven't even said anything yet. Yeah, but you're thinking it. Anyway, we have another place to go. We have to pick some people up. So he activates his box and goes back down to the Rukongai. And they're right outside of Kukaku Shiba's house. And, of course, this is where they're going to be picking up Giriko Kutsuzawa and Tsukishima and Ginjo Kujo, who was the former member of the former substitute Shinigami before Ichigo. Okay, they're going to be picking those three up here, bringing them back up, and then they're going to be involved in Core 4. This happens in the manga, but it's just a little bit more better foreshadowed here, so that's neat. They also, I just love how they integrate this. They look over and they see Lil Jay's light coming down and raining on top of the Seki barrier. Yeah, the Seki stone barrier. So some of the, I don't know how these Shinigami haven't died yet, but hey, good for them. We see Aizen in the chair. Yeah, what are they doing over there? Yes. Like, by the way, Aizen, thanks for, keeping track of the Seirete. He seems to be doing a great job, It's like, keep watch over the Seirete in case anything happens, Aizen. Yeah, all right, he's doing a great job there. So, Lil Jay's powers have been dispersed, so that basically means he turns into a bunch of giant flamingos made of light. I don't know why exactly, but they're not as powerful as his, Zariel form or like his true holy form that he takes, and they lose the Halo ability as well. He mentions that. So it's definitely a downgrade, but still can lob like giant explosive fireballs at the regular Ash Shinigami, so, that he'll still be deadly and dangerous there. So they're like pissed off at Shunsui and Nanao, so they're all just gonna like bombard and like, air raid the entire Seirete and bomb it into oblivion. However, we have somebody arriving on the scene to protect the Seirete in its darkest hour. This scene goes so hard. In the manga, it's so cool. We don't get anything of Izuru after this, and that'll be Core 4 for sure. But, like, oh my god. The shot of the moon, the crescent moon in Izuru's chest. Oh my god. The hole in me. It aches. And all of Lil Jay's little flamingo clones are like, who are you? I am a dead man. Oh, I feel so bad for Izuru. Izuru is like leaking oil and is in constant pain with the gaping chest wound. But hey, you know what? He's still a man of action, He's still dedicated to his position. He's like one of the only lieutenants left down below. Like, who else? Like, let's go through the lieutenants really quick. Like, Nanao is up in the Varvelt. Okikiba, I think, is dead. I don't know what happened to him. I think he's not around anymore. We haven't seen him in a while, so I think he's gone. Marechio got shot, and Izuru's right here in the 3rd division. Isane got shot. Momo's up in the Varvelt. She's still alive. She hasn't died yet. She's still good. Renji's up in the Varvelt. Iba's still down here. Yeah, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, Iba's with Komamura. That's why Iba didn't go up to the Varvelt. Iba wanted to stay with Komamura and kind of hang out there. Dude, bring Iba and Komamura into this. Komamura is a big wolf, but he can still fight. He can still, like, bite into one of the light monsters or whatever and have it explode. We can have a fight with Komamura. We can finally know what Iba's Shikai is. That'd be fun. We still don't know the name of that damn thing. Okay, so Nanao is up there, and then also 9th Division, Shuhei got shot. Man, a lot of lieutenants got shot. Rangiku's up there. Yachiru is now fused, is now part of, Kenpachi Zanpakuto, so that's a whole thing. Nemu exploded, and Sentaro and Kiyone they also got shot. So, yeah, there we go. Izuru and Iba, man, they're the only lieutenants down there, so bring it on, guys. You got this. You really got this. All right, so we get the cutaways. First, we get the Auswahlen, the Holy Selection, a sacred ritual performed by Yuha. Auswahlen signifies the selection and redistribution of power among Quincy's. Through this process, Yuha forcibly recalls the power he had granted to a Quincy, absorbing it into himself and redistributing it to others as needed. 12 years ago, during an Auswahlen, Ichigo Kurosaki's mother, Masaki Kurosaki, lost her life when her Quincy powers were taken. This also affected other Quincy's such as Ryukin Ishida's wife, Kane. While powerful Quincy's such as Basby and Uryu were once subjects of this process, younger or weaker Quincy's had their powers diminished and were left to survive in a weakened state. So yeah, the idea that Basby was able to survive it, same thing with Latato, is they're really talented and strong Quincy's that were able just to withstand the attack here. By the way, what is, I guess the Quincy hanging out behind Yuha here, that looks like a member of the Soldat? Like a random member of the Soldat, maybe, you know, having his power ripped away and being given to another person. It's just the hat of that Soldat looks a little different from the others, but maybe it's like melting or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I know the caption here says Seele Schneider, but that's the next one up. Here we go. Seele Schneider. Soul Cutter. The only Quincy weapon with a blade. Constructed from condensed reishi, its blade oscillates at a frequency of 3 million vibrations per second, disrupting and severing the reishi bonds of anything it cuts. This process destabilizes the opponent's spiritual particles, making them easier to absorb. Its primary function is to collect reishi from the surrounding area. Love the episode where, I actually remember, it's episode 156 and 157 when Uryu fights Yoruichi, when he uses this ability. I love this technique so well. For Quincy, Seele Schneider serves not only as a cutting weapon, but also as a multi-purpose tool, capable of being used defensively and offensively. However, its true purpose lies in its arrow use rather than as a sword, aligning with the Quincy's focus on range combat. So there we go. Yeah, pretty cool weapon. Just a neat little weapon that Uryu used against Yoruichi and Yami, and I even used it against Ukiura for a little bit. Now it's here. So I'm glad it got the last cutaway of Core 3. All right, so we flash back to the world of the living here, where Ichigo is talking to Uryu about just like aspirations and what they want to do after high school. He always assumed Uryu wanted to be a doctor, just like his dad. And also just the idea that Uryu is attending Karakura High, which is like a normal high school. Like, shouldn't Uryu be in some like private institution somewhere because he's like brilliant, right? Because he's a genius. And Uryu mentions that he used to be a doctor. He used to want to be a doctor, but not really anymore. They even have a mention of Isshin here really quick. Like, you know, your dad's a doctor too, right, Ichigo? Well, my family's different. He's more like a scruffy man. It's like, all right. Well, Uryu says, yeah, I no longer want to be a doctor because he has this flashback to when he was a little kid, and he witnessed Ryukin, his dad, performing an autopsy on Kane. And Uryu's like, if being a doctor means you have to cut up your wife, I don't want to be like that. I was also really, really hoping they would have shown a shot here of Ryukin pulling out the still silver and like dropping it in one of the dishes on the side table during the autopsy. I was really expecting them to do that. It's okay. They showed the still silver earlier in the season, so I guess we have that at least, but this would have been the perfect place to include that. I don't want to be like that. So that's the difference there. So we have the continuation of the fight here. Ichigo and Uryu have fallen down the hole. Chad and Orihime are also there. And now this is the conversation that happens in the manga where Uryu reveals his plans. Also, Ichigo gets a little bit more rough with Uryu here, as it were. In the manga, they're just kind of shouting at each other. But here, Ichigo actually goes up to him at one point and grabs him by the scruff of his collar. And is just like, tell me, Uryu, why? You know, kind of stuff, right? So Ichigo comes out and he's just like, all right, Uryu, it's just us now. It's just between us. What are your reasons for joining the Quincy's and for battling us? If your reason is acceptable to me, I'll just beat the shit out of you and bring you back to your senses. And Uryu's like, well, what if you can't? Wait, that's what if you can accept it? All right, well, what happens if you can't? I'll beat the shit out of you anyway. And so Uryu's like, so you'll beat me up no matter what? He's like, yeah. Yeah, these hands are rated E for everyone, Uryu. I'm going to beat the crap out of you and drag you back to the world of the living no matter what you say to me, because what the hell are you doing, right? That uniform just doesn't fit you, man. So Ichigo and Uryu have a stare-off, and then Uryu pulls out the key of the sun. And he mentions that this key can open the sun gates. There's one below that's used to invade the world of the living. Take this key, go down there, go back to the world of the living. That's how you escape. Leave this all to me. I am staying here. I will destroy the Varvelt and Yuha. But he does not explain how. So this scene right here, not in the manga, Ichigo approaches him, grabs him by the collar, and is like, are you kidding me? Why don't you ask us to fight with you? So this is in the manga here. It's just all the part about Uryu's plan is cut out. And in the manga it does make more sense because there's like, oh, only I can do this, Uryu. I mean, only I can do this, Ichigo. But once again, like, it seems like they would result in Uryu's death and not actually solve the problem, because there's no way Uryu's plan was going to work, right? There's no way that plan would. Maybe it could have taken out some of the Royal Guard. Even then, that's kind of sketch. But there's no way that was killing Yuha. Yuha's a fucking god, Uryu. Like, detonating the Varvelt is probably just going to mildly piss him off, honestly, if nothing else, right? Or if you were going to do that, do something like that with the Silburn before Yuha absorbs the power of the damn Rayo. You know what I mean? Not after. But all the fights they've been in up until now, you know, they went to the Soul Society, they went to Hueco Mundo together. It's like, dude, we know we can fight against really strong opponents and we might not come out unscathed, but we know we can do this together. Why didn't you ask us to fight him? You know, we can defeat Yuha. Impossible. You have no way to defeat him. No. Understand, Uryu. I have a badass new Bankai. I could defeat Yuha. It'll never work, Ichigo. Only my convoluted plan can defeat him. Well, what's your plan? Only I could do it. And then this is where it stops. And he's about to hand over the Sun Key before Hashwolf notices. But then Hashwolf arrives and says, yeah, what do you mean? Of course I noticed it. I am the Almighty. I can see everything. Okay, I know exactly what you were doing. And he also destroyed the Sun Gate already, so he can't go back down to, like, escape. That wasn't a way out anyway. So he's like, the gate to the sun leading to the human world. It's already been destroyed. I'm going to end all of this, Uryu. I'm going to kill you before His Majesty awakens. All right? So Uryu just, like, at this point is like, all right, yeah, so we all are on the same page that I was a double agent. I wasn't really trying to, like, kill you. I mean, just take that in stride. Okay, you notice that his abilities are being shared by Yuha. Well, when Yuha slumbers, Hashwolf here, the blonde guy, he gets the power. So right now Yuha's asleep. He's taking a nap. So right about now would probably be the best opportunity to go kill him. So maybe you guys can go do that, okay? I'll take care of Hashwolf. All right. And Ichigo's like, all right then, I guess this is good. We'll go do that. And Uryu's like, don't worry, this isn't my last words. Oh! Twist of the title. We thought they were Uryu's last words, but they aren't his last words. Ah, the twist. All right, so Ichigo just kind of smirks and like, I knew it. I knew you were just pulling our chain, Uryu. I knew it. All right, well, good luck. Good luck. We trust you. We'll go kill Yuha now. All right. So this is basically the final part of the episode. There's like 8 minutes left, but we'll get to that. The future is subject to change, right? How surprising, Uryu Ishida. You're a different person just now. Ah, yes. Well, you seem to be so full of hope. I see. Well, whether or not I am full of hope, I'm sure the fact you find it surprising means you don't have a better control over the Almighty. Yeah, so I like that. So he basically, like, Uryu can gleam just from, I can't remember if it's inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning, one of the two, that Hashwolf's Almighty is not on the same level as Yuha's. So he's not as afraid fighting Hashwolf. He's like, I could take this guy. I could fight this dude. So makes a bow, points it at Hashwolf. Bleach 40, title, My Last Words. We have a shot of one of the keys or one of the tokens activating and a Sun Gate initiating. And we see Isshin Kurosaki, Ichigo's daddy. And we see Uryu's daddy, Ryukin Ishida, showing up here. Wait, go back. Here we go. Yeah, right here. Showing up at the Varvelt to support their sons. And Isshin has a little line here where he's like, you know, the reason you talk shit on your dad, you know, Ryukin talking shit on Soken, is the reason Uryu talks shit on Ryukin. So that's kind of funny. We also have Toshiro. Oh, yeah, Toshiro does show up in this episode. We have a shot of, like, everybody, like, where everybody's at. We cut back down to the R&D division. We see Ukitake there. Ichigo, Chad, and Orihime are going up the steps. We see shots of, I don't know if I'll be able to get every single one of them, but we do have shots of Mayuri in the tank. Toshiro's there. Shunsui and Nanao are there. Yeah, so... we see Latato there. She's the only one still kind of barely holding on. Giselle is in a puddle of blood. She's a zombie, though, so I'm not really sure if that kills her. Actually, in Can't For Your Own World, we know that they're not dead. They're saved, actually, by Hashwolf's attendant. But, you know, Latato's there, and she's just like, he wasn't asleep? Damn. And then we just see a shot of Yuha. And she says, too bad I can't kill you, and she passes out. Yuha doesn't say anything. He seems to still be asleep, and it just zooms out of the Varvelt, and we go right into the ending credits. Now, going back here really quick. So, In the manga, the way this goes down is actually really kind of funny. It's just Latato and Giselle, not the Bambies. Just those two. Yuha gets up from his nap, beats the shit out of them, and then goes back to sleep. In this version, it seems to imply he killed them all without moving. Like, they all rushed him at once, and without even getting up or activating anything, they all just immediately got, like, one-shotted, dropped to the ground, and Latato's like, I thought you were still asleep. What the hell? And then collapses. Because defeating Yuha while he's sleeping would probably be the easiest method to do it. And there's probably some reason for how Yuha can defend himself during that moment. But I don't think it happened the same way as in the manga, where he wakes up momentarily, kicks their teeth in, and then goes back to bed. I think they just all rushed him, and then all at once, it just boom, 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 and then just dropped. And then Latato's like, what just happened? And then just like, they don't even know how they were defeated. That makes more sense and is way more intimidating. So we get the ending credits, monochrome, and then we have Queen Shi Daten with Askin Nak Levar. You know what? I was initially, when this was like started to play, and it was the same as like Kone's Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers Golden from the end of Core 2. I saw what they were doing with Quincy Daten. I was kind of excited. I was like, okay, kind of sucks we get this and not the rest of the episode, but it's Askin hosting this segment. Dude, I gotta be honest with you. Yeah, the budget for this went way down because they're basically just doing the same thing they did there where, like, the animation budget basically runs out. This feels like something that was tacked on last minute. Like, they just gave this to, like, somebody to do in the studio. Like, hey, can you just do this Quincy Daten thing for, like, the last few minutes of the episode? All of the shots from Askin here are from previous episodes. Nothing is, like, originally animated. There's one shot here. This is actually one of Askin's... on the cover of Volume 69, I think, Askin is in this pose. So they animate that like a little bit, like a couple of frames of animation here, but that's it. So the most notable thing here is we learn the names and the relationships of the original Royal Guard of Yuha. So during 1,000 years ago, so we get to see their names here. We have Yuha's right-hand man, Johann Zeidritz, and then Hubert Alexander Kreisch, and then Algora. I think we did know Algora's name, Argola, before this. His last name is Larao. And then we have probably everybody's favorite, the lady, the blonde girl with the ponytail with the blue highlights that uses a gun. Super anachronistic for like 1000 AD, but whatever. Nikita Desulok, or Deathlock. Death Clock, you know, she has the coolest name. I think a lot of people are going to cosplay as her in anime conventions coming up. So we get a little relationship chart here. You can look it up. It's like exactly what that translates into. I think like Hubert views Zeidritz as like a dusty old man or something like that. Some of them like each other. Some of them don't like each other. It's a weird kind of thing to focus on. Out of all, like, we could have gotten BG9 and Robert Sternritter letters, but instead we find out about these characters from 1,000 years ago that barely have any screen time. Yeah, all right, we'll go with that. We can do that there. They're a terrifying group. We get some scenes with Askin here, and then we have shots where he's talking about, like, beautiful women. We get to see, you know, Yoruichi there. I'm quite shocked by her beauty. It's really terrifying. She's indeed a beauty. And then we see him critiquing, like, all of the Bambies' power, like Meninus. Training is one thing, but it's not good to beat people up. So cringe. Yeah, so he's just going through, like, we just see scenes we've already seen in the last core of the Bambies, and he's just talking over them and calling them cringe. And that's kind of it. And it's like, oh, they attacked him, and it's the scene from the episode where he got hit by Yushiro. We're just going to repurpose that. It's like, yeah, It just doesn't work. I mean, it's kind of funny, but, like, it's just with the decreased budget and everything and how it's just tacked on here at the end, it just doesn't work for me. And it just literally at the very end, they kind of just ran out of time. It's like, all right, we're just literally going to show a timer. Like, all right, we have like 10, 12 seconds left in the episode. We'll just show a time limit of 12 seconds left in the episode. Okay. All right, sure, fine, whatever. That's what we get. That's the end of Core 3, everybody. That's what we get right there. Thanks, Askin. Thanks, buddy. All right, Core 4, I don't know when it's going to be up. I'm assuming next year. We are ending Core 3 right at the beginning of 2025. So wait, I might say next year, maybe at the end of this year, or maybe next year, 2026. I'm not really sure when it's announced, if it was announced yet. I got all the episodes of Core 3 done, which is more than I could say about Core 2. I still missed episode 22. But I will be posting on here, probably not like weekly or anything like that, but I will, every time I get a hankering to do a Bleach video, I'll post it on the channel. It was really fun to get back into this again and just add a little bit of a break from the One Piece stuff, kind of balancing One Piece and Bleach. So, yeah, what is your favorite episode of Core 3? And what are you most excited for about Core 4 that they were going to change or add from the manga? How do you think the fight with the Visards are going to go? How do you think Askin's fight with Yoruichi and Kisuke is going to go? Grimmjow and Neliel might have more to do there. That's going to be really fun. And do you think Ryu is going to have a slightly different plan this time around, how to take it down? And maybe even Ryukin and Isshin will get in on the action. Who knows? But, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for supporting BAN-KAST. Make sure to subscribe to this and the main channel, Teching 101, and the side channel, Teching 1001. I'm starting to do some game stuff over on that, like Baldur's Gate 3 I've been playing. So, yeah, and Spotify, Google Play, all that good stuff. Teching 101 signing out. Yeah!